I was so tired. It was like 4 in the morning and just needed to get some sugar for the rest of the night. And there was something in it.
Oh, no.
And I remember just flicking it out and just pretending it didn't exist and just kept drinking my milkshake.
Oh, that's horrible.
It was like that. We were that kind of like not in the zone to go back into Jack in the Box and argue about a milkshake, but I don't want to not drink the milkshake.
And part of the reason that food was like so cheap is that they had some people I think died of food poisoning.
Yes, it was right around that time when they got into a food poisoning scare.
And so it was just very cheap to eat there. And I figured they probably have taken some action after the food poisoning.
Yeah,
so
they did.
Hopefully,
that sounds.
It's just like.
But I still
eat a little bit of it, it just tastes funny. Stop eating if it tastes funny.
You run out of things to eat because after like the 17th chicken fajita pita, you're like,
Chicken fajita pita.
Can't do it.
The teriyaki bowl. Yeah, remember that teriyaki bowl?
Was that one good?
It's actually, it varied, but it was edible. It was not bad.
Which one went?
The teriyaki bowl.
Teriyaki bowl wasn't bad. There was the sort of sourdough grilled cheese thing that wasn't bad.
Yeah, I honestly didn't mind it. Really.
Those were the good old days, right?
I mean, it was honestly good days. I mean, we were just hoping that people would let us stay in the country. Yeah. We weren't really that worried about what we were eating. We were just doing everything we could to get someone to support the company. We didn't really I didn't understand the venture capital world that much, so we were doing a seed round, an angel round, and doing our best to talk to everyone and anyone we could find. We had a very good friend with us, Greg Curry, who's now passed away, who was older than us by about 10 years, I think. And was a wonderful mentor, helped us out, and put a little money in as well. And then I did a lot of the work to just network with people. I think our first salesman who was selling Yellow Pages ads for us was a real estate agent who knew another person who knew this other person who helped us raise or put together. We ended up not doing the round, but put together a round of like $200,000 or something.
Yeah.
And then
we did like part of it or something. I don't know.
But I think once we had the Java map, which was really quite impressive. I mean, if you've never seen Google Maps or Yahoo Maps before, it really is a remarkable thing to see. We started to go to we got some audiences with some venture capitalists, and it just went from we were starving, we had no car, well, the car we had broken.
The wheel fell off.
Huh?
The wheel fell off.
Yeah, the wheel fell off, yeah.
What kind of car was it?
I remember that.
It's an old BMW 3 Series.
Was it the one you
where
worked
we did a road trip
Yeah.
across the country?
Yeah, the one that my mom has some pictures of.
I think there's still there's a carve in the road at Page Mill and El Camino.
Literally, the wheel came off.
The wheal fell off, and the guy
Literally in the intersection.
just drove it without the wheel to the side.
It's pretty much time for the junkyard at that point because the whole car is just falling apart. So, yeah, it's like the point at which the wheel falls off. It's time to go to the junkyard.
Kimball, the night before you met the venture capitalists, you and I were at Kinko's till 2 in the morning.
No, that was way more stressful. That was way later because we already had the deal, but we were not. I don't know if you were, but I was not legally in America, so I was illegally there.
I was legally there, but I was meant to be doing student work.
Oh yeah, right.
I had a student work visa.
Yeah, you were doing you were supposed to be doing a PhD in Stanford and decided not to.
So it was like I was allowed to do work, sort of supporting whatever, I don't know.
Whereas I try to get a visa, but there's just no visa you can get to do a startup.
Yeah, fortunately nobody was paying you anything either.
And so we ended up getting. We got a deal from Moore David out and this really well-respected VC firm, and we had to break the news to them that we took the bus to get to the offices. We don't have a car and we don't have an apartment, and we're illegal.
No, you're illegal.
And so,
but I was legal, but my visa was going to run out in 2 years.
Okay. Yeah, but I was definitely
student visa.
We needed to get it sorted, and so they were great. I mean, the lead investor, his wife was from Canada. They knew the whole challenge of being an immigrant, and we had Canadian passports, and so they funded the company, and they gave us some money to each buy a car, and they gave us a salary so we could rent an apartment, and I got a visa through the company. But the morning we were supposed to present to the partners, I went to Toronto because my mother was freaking out because she needed her computer fixed. And
What, really?
Seriously, this is brutal. So I flew out there planning to fly back on Sunday, and the meeting was on Monday. And I get to the airport on Sunday, and the border control they call me out. They're like, you're going down to work. You're not going down for travel. And I was like, no, I'm going down to work. I explained. Actually, no, I didn't. I said I'm not going to work because I think that's what I was supposed to say. But the lawyers told me not to say anything. And so they rejected me from the border.
Oh.
And so I'm supposed to do the presentation with Elon the next morning. And so a friend of mine came to pick me up at the airport and drove me across the border. And we went to the Buffalo border and just said, we're going to go see the David Letterman show.
Nice.
That's hilarious.
And the border control guy was like, yeah, go ahead.
Wow.
That's amazing.
I got on the late night flight from Buffalo to San Francisco, and we made the meeting in the morning. So
Very good.
Yeah, I mean, technically, you were not going down to work because that would have meant you were being paid something. You were,
yeah, I wasn't actually paid anything. Yeah. Technically, we weren't actually. No, you're right.
You're not actually breaking the law.
We're not breaking the law because we were not being paid anything. Exactly. Yeah. I should have told them that at the border control. But anyway, it was very
By work, do
frustrating.
you mean getting paid for something? No, I'm not doing that.
No, yeah, you're right. Exactly. We were not being paid. Exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, so then they approved the deal that Monday, and we started building Zip2. And it wasn't a business model for back in those days.
Well, it was kind of like Yelp is like the business model was similar to sort of Yelp,
Yeah.
but it was at a time when most businesses didn't know what the internet was, so and most people didn't have an email address or
We
they
had
went
to
online.
explain
So
to them what a website was. The internet was kind of this cool thing. People were using Netscape browser, and I think by the end of it, we got 18,000 businesses to be on our service, paying to be like with websites and everything.
yeah,
A lot of the things that you can do today, like automatically build websites, we built a lot of those sort of tools to make it easier to build websites, and we had to sell door to door because that was the only way.
Did you hire people, or is it just you guys going door to door?
No, we had a team by that time because we could hire a team. But I remember talking to a Yellow Pages guy once, and it was amazing. It was the head of the Toronto Star that they owned all the Yellow Pages.
the Yellow Pages will never die. Famous last word.
Literally, because we went and talked to him to partner. We said we want to part with you, and let's be one of your partners to put the Yellow Pages online. And he picked up the Yellow Pages, this book, this big thick book that's full of ads, this multi-billion-dollar revenue stream.
I mean, these guys were so arrogant and
So
like we are the kings of the world and
Seriously.
it will never end.
He picked up this book and he
We're like,
threw
listen,
it at me, and he said, "Do you ever think you're going to replace this?" And I was just literally like, I mean, my head is like, dude, you're already dead.
That's hilarious.
Reminds me of the anti-Tesla people, Gas cars will never die.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, we saw the growth of the internet. We saw the use of the Yellow Pages. We saw even all our competitors and stuff. And no one was using the paper Yellow Pages if you had the choice.
Yeah.
Yes.
Exactly.
No one.
Yes, that's very true.
And so at that point, very few people were on the internet. So it was really a question of is the internet going to succeed, which we were huge believers in, and these guys were not. They didn't even clue in.
Yeah, but it was like one foreign country after another. We would say like, listen, we'll just put your Yellow Pages online. It's going to cost very little. You'll still own all the content and everything. And they're like, they'll just throw us out of the office.
Yeah.
Like, no. And how dare you even suggest this?
It was extraordinary, and it's been
And we're like, okay, I guess we'll just build it. And then
But it's been interesting to watch over the years where, like in PayPal, the competitors were not banks, even though that should have been the competitor.
No, there were banks that tried to compete.
But wasn't it eBay mostly that was sort of the bank?
Well, eBay had something called Bull Point.
Yeah.
But it wasn't exactly like PayPal.
Yeah.
But generally eBay had an issue with trying to get payment for stuff. Like
Yeah.
like two people would have to mail checks to each other.
Yeah, that's gonna work.
If you mail a check and you receive the check, and how do you know the check's real? Then you've got to, cash a check and take, 2 to 5 days for the money to transfer. So it could take 2 weeks before somebody had confirmed payment, and then they would ship you the item, and so the transaction velocity was very low as a result. If you had instant payment, you could improve transaction velocity dramatically, like a factor of, maybe 3 to 5.
Yeah, but
So-
I've just sort of seen that when an industry is disrupted, you worry about the major players. I mean, we remember when we started Tesla, we were aspiring to be the GM of the 21st century. 4 years later, GM went bankrupt. You're like, oh, okay, we don't need to be GM. We're good. We're good. And it's whoever is going to be the main competitors, we don't know yet, but it may not be the entrenched players. It may
Probably
be
not, yeah.
sort of other companies. And so that happened at Zip2, where we tried our best to partner with the industry because that seemed like the best way to make some money and actually have a revenue model. And we ended up finding the newspapers to be a better partner because they didn't have the Yellow Pages business. And I think they were smarter. Their classifieds business was getting eaten away by Craigslist. Before Craigslist, classifieds was the bread and butter of the newspaper. And of course, anyone who used Craigslist would never use the newspaper. So it was those folks seemed to have a better, at least some of the players had a more vision of the future. And so our business became putting major newspapers, New York Times, to all of the Philadelphia Inquirer, Chicago Tribune, or whatever, all the main players, all the LA Times, everyone. And then we started going internationally, doing the same thing. So if you went on to the New York Times website and you wanted to search for a restaurant, of course, they have all these reviews. Or if you wanted to search for a home, we tied the MLS together with maps and door-to-door directions. So all of these services that we now use and take for granted that use maps and door-to-door directions, we did that all in the 90s to find a business model.
Yeah.
What made you do PayPal after Zip2? Why didn't you go straight into sustainable energy?
Right. So, gotta recall things that are now quite a while. So it would have been 98 when Compaq offered to acquire Zip2, and which I think it was a good thing for them to acquire it because, as I mentioned, the newspapers actually, or the media companies, had too much control over Zip2. So they were not. We had great technology that was not being deployed effectively, and they would just generally be averse to anything that could remotely be competitive with their newspapers. So we're sort of trapped in this situation, but then Compaq came along and bought the company in late '98, and the deal closed early '99. So then, as a result of that, Kim and I had some capital, $20 million or something out of it, and I think the thing that was frustrating to me was that we'd built incredible technology, and it had not been used. It was just sort of it was very disappointing. We put a lot of work into this technology and it just wasn't being used. So I was like, okay, I'm going to want to do one more thing on the internet just to show that we can make technology that is, when it's used properly, can be extremely effective. So I thought about what's digital, essentially. What exists in the form of information, and is also not high bandwidth, because in '99 people still mostly had modems. So you couldn't, video was not really feasible in '99. So, but money is low bandwidth and digital, effectively, mostly digital. So it's what can we do to make money work better? And money, in my view, is essentially an information system for labor allocation. So it has no power in and of itself. It's like a database for for guiding people as to what they should do. And so you can think of banks as a set of heterogeneous databases with that are actually not very secure, and certainly the monetary system, the transfer system of checks is very insecure. Still is insecure. So are credit cards, and it's still mostly batch processing, and it was entirely batch processing that day. So it was not. So payments were. Or money was this like heterogeneous, high latency, low security collection of databases. That's what banks are. And so just from an information theory standpoint, this should be something that can be much better if it can be real time, secure, and just very fast. Essentially, it's just one real-time database. So it's like, okay, let's try to build that. So that's what X.com was. And then at the time, I also thought what we should try to do is just do all the financial things as well, not just payments. I still think that's really what PayPal should have done, but whatever, it's water under the bridge at this point. And then there was a company that was formed around the same time called Confinity, which was Peter Thiel, Max Levchin, and Luke Nosek, David Sachs, Ken Howery, and a number of others. And at X.com, there's also like Jeremy Stoppelman, and who created Yelp, Roloff Botha, who then went on to run Sequoia and fund YouTube. It was at X.com. So we just had this like two companies with like a crazy amount of talent, X.com and Confinity. And Confinity started as a Palm Pilot cryptography company. Back when you'd communicate via the infrared port of a Palm Pilot.
I remember that.
Yeah, I had one Palm Pilot.
So it was like, so you could basically communicate crypto tokens between Palm Pilots using the infrared port and then reconcile them on a PC. Now, obviously, they evolved to go in the payments direction as well. And we were both in Palo Alto, like literally a block away from each other. I think at one point we were briefly even in the same building. It was, So we were just competing with each other like maniacs. And then we had a coffee on University Avenue, and said, "Hey, why don't we just combine our efforts, or we're just going to bludgeon each other to death here?" So we merged Confinity and X.com, and raised $100 million in the space of 3 weeks in March of 2000.
Wow.
Yeah, and in April the market went into free fall.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
the 2000.
yeah, and it was like
I remember that.
that was insane. And we kind of thought it was going to go into free fall, but we're like, we better get this thing done fast, or we're both going to die. So, X.com was technically the acquirer of Confinity, but it was a 50.1 and 49.9 or something like that. And then there was a lot of drama. There was so much drama at X.com. And the company was called X.com for about a year, and then we changed the company name to the product name. The product was PayPal. But all the incorporation documents and everything is all my incorporation documents.
Who came up with the PayPal name?
I actually don't know.
People call you guys the PayPal Mafia now, Thiel wrote that in his book.
I don't know who did the PayPal. I was never a huge fan of PayPal as a name. The reason being that I thought it made sense for the company to kind of
Broader.
be much broader. Yeah, exactly. I mean, if you limit yourself to payments, then necessarily people want to transfer money out of the system. And as soon as they transfer money out of the system, the efficiency of the database drops dramatically, because now you're in the traditional banking world. So if you just offer all the things that, if you just basically address all the reasons why people are taking money out of the PayPal system, so you have to provide them with checks so that you have a bridge to the legacy transaction system. You got to provide them with